Are they scamming Dr. Phil? The Sting, new Dr. Phil.
The death of 60 Minutes correspondent Ed Bradley is a loss for all those who love a good story. His interviews and investigative reports are the product of years of experience, hard work, and an undying desire for the truth. Of course, here at CBS News, his death is a personal loss. Last night, CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric gathered some of Bradley's co-workers at 60 Minutes to tell stories about Ed. Joining Katie were 60 Minutes creator Don Hewitt, correspondents Leslie Stahl and Steve Croft, and from Washington, Bob Schieffer.
First of all, let me start by asking you, what made Ed Bradley such a terrific newsman?
First of all, he was a terrific human being. And I think you have to start with that before you ever even begin to think what made him a great reporter.
What do you think?
Well, I agree totally with Don. It was his humanity, his compassion, starting way back with those Cambodian boat people that we saw earlier, where he stopped being a reporter. He could get things out of people because he, I don't know, he just had a way of being honest about himself. He was so comfortable in his own skin. People relaxed with him. He could touch you, whether he was interviewing you or whether you were his friend.
Or whether you were just watching.
Or even if you were watching. I mean, I want you to know, Katie, that all of us are just in terrible pain today. It's shattering.
Steve?
I think the thing that made him terrific was his presence. There was a dignity about him that could transform any situation, and he was great for seizing the moment. The French have a word for it, savoir-faire, which is the perfect mixture of style and substance, and that was it.
Bob Schieffer, tell us why you think he was such a fine journalist.
Because he was Mr. Cool. He was the coolest person I ever met. Ed always knew what was hot before the rest of us. He knew what was not before the rest of us realized. He was this great observer of humanity, of human nature and the American scene. So I guess one reason he was such a good reporter, he knew the right questions to ask.
Tell us some stories about Ed Bradley, because you must have a million of them.
Well, my favorite one was when he won the Paul White Award, I introduced him to 1,000 people at a lunch. And I got up and I said, I would like everyone in this room to know that I hired Ed Bradley because he's a member of a minority. And there was this gasp in the room. And as soon as it calmed down, I said, he's a great reporter, he's a great gentleman, and if that ain't a minority, I never heard of one. And I let it go at that.
I guess mine has to do with the troubles we had during the tobacco story fiasco. And 60 Minutes was just being torn apart. People weren't talking to each other. Maybe they talked, but they yelled when they talked. And we all thought we weren't going to be able to survive. And Ed Bradley called us all to his apartment one day. And he basically locked the door. He said, we're not leaving here. You're prisoners until we solve this and we become civil back, we return to civility and get on with our show. And he basically saved 60 Minutes.
He was our daddy.
He became our daddy that day.
I don't think in the 20 years that I knew him, I ever saw him lose his composure. I saw him lose his temper a couple of times, but I never saw him lose his composure. You know, people try and tell reporters, you should walk with the people. Ed truly walked with the people. And I remember a story that was told to me by one of his producers. And they were traipsing through the jungles in Mexico or Central America, off to interview some guerrilla leader. And it was very hot, it was a very long walk, and they were loaded down with all sorts of equipment to do the interview. And one of the people in the crew, either a cameraman or a sound man, was belly aching, as all of us in this business are inclined to do from one time or another. And Ed, who was carrying a lot of gear himself, walked right past the crew member and grabbed the camera or the tape recorder that was in his hands and just walked right on by him, never said a word. And Ed was the star. He didn't have to carry anything if he didn't want to. But Ed always carried his load.
When Leslie mentioned earlier about when he locked you all in his apartment,
That's right.
It sounds as if he sometimes returned to his roots when he was a 6th grade teacher in Philadelphia, right?
You know, I wanted to say one more thing. His office is right next to mine. And there were two things Ed loved that most people probably don't know. One is music. So there was jazz always coming out of his office. So you're trying to work, and there's this great jazz going on.
I know what the other one was.
No, you don't. The other one is flowers. And Ed had a little bouquet of flowers, not the garden. He has a garden. His office looks like a garden, but he would have a little bouquet of flowers delivered to his office once a week, every week.
And more
they're
importantly,
sitting there today.
Oh.
Yeah.
and more importantly, he took the time to stop and smell them. There are a lot of people in this business that let the job rule their lives. And Ed had a real flair for living his life. He really enjoyed it. And it's tragic that it had to be cut short.
Bob Schieffer, we're hearing some great stories from these folks, from his colleagues here at 60 Minutes, but do you have a favorite Ed Bradley story, Bob?
I'll tell you, the first thing I thought of today, Katie, Ed loved children, and he loved young people. He was a mentor to so many of them. But in 1988, it was, the Republican National Convention was in New Orleans. My daughters were both teenagers at the time, and I asked them at the end of one evening, I said, would you guys like to go down and see what's going on Bourbon Street? They said, Dad, I'm sorry, but we can't. Mr. Bradley is getting a group together to go see Little Feat. I didn't even know what Little Feat was. I found out later it was a band.
He was a little hipper than all of you, I'm afraid, right?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Ed Bradley, the person, because you all were privileged enough to really spend time with him and get to know him, something that we'll never know or necessarily read about?
Well, most of it showed up on the air. When he did George Burns, after Gracie Allen died, there was a moment, George Burns took Ed Bradley up to Forest Lawn to introduce him to Gracie Allen in her tomb. And he stood there and he said, honey, this is Ed Bradley. We're going to be working again. He's going to put us on 60 Minutes. I choked up. I think I tears in the screening room. I watched him. He had a way of bringing out the best in everyone. He did it, whether it was Derek Jeter, Muhammad Ali, George Burns,
Lena Horne.
I mean, Lena. We always thought he was going to run away with Lena Horne when it was over, but it's very difficult to sort of quantify Ed Bradley. He just was. He was Ed Bradley, and that's almost enough.
Well, Don Hewitt, Leslie Stahl, Steve Croft, and Bob Schieffer in Washington, thanks so much for sharing your memories with us. I know that everyone watching really appreciates it, especially on such a sad day for all of you and all of us as well.
Ed Bradley was just 65 years old. He leaves behind his wife, Patricia Blanchett, and a body of work that stands as a monument to his professionalism. We'll be right back.
Cotlin Gardner is a real Geico customer, not an actor. So to help tell her story, we hired an actor.
My husband totaled our new SUV on my birthday.
But you know I still love him.
Less than 6 hours after the accident, the Geico claim adjuster was at my house.
Well, I put on some tangerine lip gloss and answered the door.
Geico service turned out to be the best birthday present I could ever want.
I was one lucky woman.
Geico. Real service, real savings.
An evening in front of the fire can be so relaxing, but there may be danger hiding right in your fireplace. Every year, creosote buildup causes thousands of chimney fires. Attack that buildup with CSL Creosote Sweeping Log. Each time you use your fireplace or wood stove, there's a constant buildup of thick wood smoke deposits in your flue called creosote. These highly flammable deposits can cause a chimney fire if not removed. While CSL burns like a regular log, its active minerals dry out and reduce those dangerous deposits, making your next fire safer. Now CSL has the seal of acceptance from the Chimney Safety Institute of America. This winter, with heating costs soaring, a clean flue will heat your home more efficiently and help you beat those high prices. Get CSL Creosote Sweeping Log. Look for the chimney sweep on the box.
CSL Creosote Sweeping Log is available at Target, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Supercenters, participating Ace, Do It Best, True Value, and Kmart.
Diamonds. The Jewelry Exchange imports their diamonds direct. We carry thousands, most GIA and EGL certified, and all guaranteed the lowest price. Half-carat ISI diamonds that sell elsewhere for over $2,000 are only $7.99. 3/4 carat $15.99, and 1 carat just $2,900. Diamonds are shown loose and set while you watch. 1 carat studs are still just $3.99. Buy factory direct and save. The Jewelry Exchange with superstores nationwide or online at jewelryexchange.com.
What is your biggest fear?
Federal prosecutors would not comment. President Bush is now locked in a dispute.
Daily life is still a bitter struggle to survive.
Coming up, big puzzles came in small packages in an explosive episode of CSI. Go behind the scenes of the riveting drama with William Peterson on The Early Show.
A CSI Miami star caught up in a real-life murder mystery Saturday.
It's 51 past the hour. Top stories and up to the minute. Democrats acknowledge there's a long list of challenges awaiting them when they take control of Congress in January, but insist they will deliver results. Today, President Bush meets with Nevada Senator Harry Reid, soon to become Majority Leader of the Senate. The first ever estimate of civilian deaths in Iraq is put at 150,000. Iraq's government says it based the number on the roughly estimated 100 bodies a day that were brought to morgues and hospitals. And he's being remembered as a journalist. Longtime CBS News reporter and 60 Minutes correspondent Ed Bradley dies of complications of leukemia. He was 65 years old. Millions of bottles of over-the-counter pain relievers are being recalled because some may contain small pieces of metal. The recall involves acetaminophen, one of the most popular non-aspirin analgesics on the market. Alexis Christoforous has the details.
You may want to double-check your medicine cabinet. 11 million bottles of the pain reliever acetaminophen have been pulled off store shelves after metal fragments were discovered in some of the caplets. There have been no reports of illness, and the FDA says even if you swallowed the affected pills, there is only a remote risk of serious injury. The most common name brand for acetaminophen, Tylenol, is not involved in the recall. The pills are sold under generic or store brands at over 100 retailers, including big name chains like CBS, Kroger, Safeway, and Walmart. Fragments of the metal found in the affected caplets ranged in size from a microdot to portions of a wire a third of an inch long. The bottles in question contain 500 milligram caplets and are made by the Michigan company Perrigo. The company has a hotline number for people who bought the pills. A recording will take your name and address for what it calls a return kit. Even though Perrigo is a major generic drug distributor, it says the recall will not result in a shortage of the popular pain reliever. Alexis Christoforous, CBS News, New York.
In Louisiana, work crews have begun demolishing many of the houses that were flooded and then abandoned because of Hurricane Katrina. Officials in St. Bernard Parish had given homeowners more than a year to clean up their flood-damaged homes. Those that were left are now being torn down. Work on the first of some 1,200 buildings got underway Thursday. The flood damage is still fresh along coastal Oregon. Days of torrential rain sent rivers over their banks, flooding homes and neighborhoods. Several people lost their homes and property to the floods, and more rain is expected this weekend. Let's take a look at the weather for the rest of the nation. The latest satellite picture shows the northwest once again looking up at clouds, while the southwest is clear. It's downright beautiful up and down the eastern seaboard and rather mild for the second week in November, while the skies are gray across the upper Midwest. Later today, more rain for the northwest with another big storm expected for the weekend. The plains will chill down about 30 degrees cooler than yesterday. A cold rain will fall across the Great Lakes, but it will be another warm, sunny day in the east. In Sicily, Mother Nature put on quite a spectacular show Thursday. The Mount Etna volcano spewed molten rock high into the sky, lighting up its southeastern slope with molten lava. Experts say the lava poses no danger to the surrounding villages.
104.1 The Fish, Family Matters.
You care what your family hears on the radio, and so do we.
That's why 104.1 The Fish is family friendly.
You won't hear embarrassing language, just positive, uplifting music.
Safe for the whole family.
KFIS 104.1 The Fish.
Now with Pete and Brenda in the morning.
Hey, Jim Twitchell from Twitchell's Furniture, and I'd like to invite you to our More Than Sofas sale. Our most popular upholstery is discounted and ready for delivery. Check out this oversized contemporary sofa and double chair. Save $400. Or choose from 3 styles and save $200 on the sofa. Furnish with style and finish on budget at the Twitchell's More Than Sofa sale. 1223 North Hayden Meadows Drive in Delta Park. Talk with you next time.
Ed Tonkin here for Ron Tonkin Chevrolet, offering you a way to save time and money. Now through Monday night, save thousands during Ron Tonkin Chevrolet's giant $49 over invoice sale. Right now, you can buy new Chevrolets for just $49 over invoice. Plus, you keep all the rebates and incentives. We'll even show you the invoice. That's right, every new 06 and 07 Chevy in stock is on sale right now, just $49 over invoice. Except Corvettes, only at Ron Tonkin Chevrolet out 122nd Way.
Welcome to Brand Source.
We carry all the major brands.
And we're the source for low prices.
Buy a beautiful new Tappan self-cleaning ceramic top range for the unheard-of price of only $2.99.
And with the help from our appliance experts, you're sure to make the right choice.
So come in today. We're always open to all your questions about appliances.
In Portland, see DeWitt. In Gladstone, see Hamilton's.
This was a big week for Washington, D.C., the nation, and indeed the world. It seems Americans weren't the only ones watching the election returns. Reports from nations near and far have had reactions ranging from disappointment to jubilation over a change in power in Washington. As Ed Boyle tells us in this morning's comment from London, perhaps it will bring a change in the weather as well.
There used to be, just down the sidewalk, a sad old man with a sad old sign, which he carried aloft in silence. It read, "The end of the world is nigh." Now, maybe there are some Republicans around this morning who know what he was talking about. But for us Brits, the end of the world is beginning to look too real for comfort. We're just recovering from reading a vast British government report, 700 apocalyptic pages of it, warning of what will happen if we don't go green. We have to stop burning fossil fuels, buzzing about in aeroplanes, wasting precious resources, doing all those spendthrift things that make life half bearable. We have to stop, or else we're doomed, kaput. If that doesn't make you go green, what will? Taxes, probably. It's already started. The Mayor of London wants to charge motorists who use gas-guzzling SUVs thousands of dollars a year just for driving into the city centre. Unlike you, we have pretty well run out of oil. We stopped mining and burning our own homegrown coal years ago because it was too dirty. We're forced to pay high prices to some rather dodgy suppliers like Russia these days. And just when we'd finished digesting one huge report, along came another, equally pessimistic, this time telling us to stop eating fish or there won't be any left. You see, the fishermen are catching too many fish in this part of the world, and there aren't enough sustainable stocks to ensure. Yeah, okay, why bother? You've heard it all before. But you get my drift. Today is Friday. On Friday, Britain tucks into an unhealthy diet of fish and chips, fried in batter and served with mushy peas. Forget it in future. And as the weather gets worse, one of the nation's biggest power companies has just issued advice to customers who can't afford to turn up the heating. Don't let Junior freeze, they say. Put him to bed in gloves and scarves and socks and a woolly hat over his head. It is getting seriously grim over here. Christmas is coming, but the Norwegians who supply most of our Christmas trees are suffering crop failures because of climate change. Now the price of a tiny spruce is heading as high as that hole in the ozone layer. So spare us a dime and paint up a sign too. The end of the world may well be nigh. This is Ed Boyle for CBS News in London.
Thanks for joining us this half hour. This is CBS News Up to the Minute.
CBS News.
Funny man Dave Barry on his new Christmas book.
Good Morning Northwest, 5 to 7 a.m.
Now on CBS News, Up to the Minute.
We've made history. Now we have to make progress.
Old adversaries come together as a new political reality dawns in Washington.
And I don't think that you need a lot of movement and graphics to tell a good story. You need some good storytellers.
The same, is it?
And one of the greatest storytellers of them all, our own Ed Bradley, has died.
Ed Bradley, CBS News, the White House.
Good morning from CBS News headquarters in New York. This is Up to the Minute. I'm Meg Oliver. The new face of the United States Senate gets his chance to sit down with President Bush today. Nevada Senator Harry Reid, soon to become Majority Leader of the Senate, has a lunch date at the White House. A triumphant Reid got the invite after the final contested Senate battle gave Democrats control of both houses of Congress.
Well, let me tell you this. The election's over. It's time for a change.
Yesterday, it was Nancy Pelosi's turn in the Oval Office. CBS's Drew Levinson reports.
They're political opposites, but President Bush and future House Speaker Nancy Pelosi were all smiles after a White House lunch. On the menu, bipartisanship.
The Congresswoman's party won, but the challenges still remain. And therefore, we're going to work together to address those challenges in a constructive way.
Pelosi says together, they can get results.
I look forward to working in a confidence-building way with the president, recognizing that we have our differences.
Those differences include the war in Iraq and how best to fight terrorism. The Democrats are hoping they can make good on the promises they made to voters, now that they're in control of both the House and the Senate. The Democrat Senate takeover was made official in Virginia. Jim Webb defeated incumbent Republican Senator George Allen in a race that had been too close to call. Likely Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid led a celebration outside the Capitol.
This time for new direction has given us an opportunity, a chance to prove to the American people that we can work with the Republicans.
Long-serving Democrats will now head powerful congressional committees and shape new agendas. On the House Ways and Means Committee, Republican Bill Thomas will be replaced as chairman by Democrat Charles Rangel. Rangel says he's not ruling out tax increases. And in the Senate, Arlen Specter is out, and Patrick Leahy is in as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, making it tougher for the president to push through conservative Supreme Court nominees. But no one expects it to be smooth sailing for the Democrats. Senate Republicans can filibuster, and the president has the option to veto legislation. Drew Levinson, CBS News, Washington.
There's another casualty this morning of the GOP bloodbath at the polls. Ken Mehlman, chairman of the Republican National Committee, will reportedly step aside in January, shortly before the new democratically controlled Congress is seated. Mehlman, a longtime protege of White House political director Karl Rove, was the architect of the GOP's failed election strategy. Soon-to-be former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld spoke at length for the first time since being fired by President Bush. Before a group of college students, Rumsfeld came as close as he's ever come to admitting the U.S. occupation of Iraq is in trouble.
Combat operations were an enormous success. It is clear that in phase 2 of this, it has not been going well enough or fast enough.
Rumsfeld will remain in his post until his replacement is confirmed by the Senate. The drugstore chain CBS is pulling a house brand painkiller off its shelves after the FDA warned about possible metal fragments inside the pills. CBS's Cynthia Bowers has more.
A major maker of generic acetaminophen, which was sold to dozens of big-name retailers, has recalled 11 million bottles of the popular painkiller after discovering small metal fragments in some of its tablets. Brand name Tylenol is okay. This medicine was made by Michigan-based Perrigo, which a consumer watchdog group says has a troubling history.
The recall today is the 33rd recall that this company has had since 1998.
The FDA, which posted the recalled batch numbers and the stores involved on its website, says the risk of serious injury is remote.
Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Chicago.
A giant of television news and a good friend to many of us here at CBS, longtime correspondent Ed Bradley has died. He was 65 years old and suffering from leukemia. Ed left this world surrounded by family, friends, and colleagues. Leslie Stahl has his story.
Ed Bradley was a reporter of extraordinary range, whether grilling the mass murderer of Oklahoma City
You realize that most people in this country think you're responsible for the bombing, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Or getting a legend to drop his guard.
Go ahead.
For she can carry a gun, good as any mother's son. See the comedy.
We call them Bradley moments.
I had read somewhere that you wrote Blowing in the Wind in 10 minutes. Is that right?
Probably.
Nobody did it like Ed. He had style, originality, heart.
I can see the tears in your eyes.
Oh, it's very personal for me.
His nickname around here was Easy Ed. He made it look effortless. As someone said, like he wasn't really working.
Yeah, this is neighborhood.
Yeah.
Ed Bradley was raised by his mother in Philadelphia. He was a high school athlete and after college taught 6th grade in an elementary school. But he quickly moved into reporting, first on radio. After a stint in Paris, he went to Saigon for the story that would put him on the map and almost kill him, Vietnam.
People were moved from Viet Cong areas into towns controlled by the government. And all of a sudden I heard this terrific noise. In a split second, when that mortar round landed behind the armored personnel carrier where I had been standing and exploded, when it hit, it blew me in the air and I hit the ground. It's a law of chance. If I had not moved to sit on the side, I would have been dead.
A signature moment in his life and career came with the crisis of the Vietnamese boat people. Ed couldn't stand by and just be the correspondent.
Only a few fishermen helped the boat people ashore. We joined in.
Ed specialized in firsts. First African-American White House correspondent for a network.
Ed Bradley, CBS News, the White House.
He was a man who broke down racial barriers and became a role model for young African-Americans.
And too often in this country, we are judged by the color of our skin and not by the content of our character. So the pressure is there. It's been there every day of my life.
He joined 60 Minutes 25 years ago and described his approach to the job as a very simple one.
And if I'm talking to you for however long it takes, I'm yours.
He's my husband.
And you still love him?
I love him, yes.
I'm going to listen, and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to do what I have to do to get the story.
With all these relatives coming over, Ricky, we'll never fit around our old table. Whatever shall we do?
I have an idea. Let's get a new table.
Already got one.
Good. Hey, wait a minute. Where did you get the money for that? Was it another one of those harebrained schemes of yours? Or did you go through my wallet?
A little of both.
Make room for the family with a new dining set from Furniture Outlet. Go to www.OregonFurnitureOutlet.com for store locations.
Installation for just 99 bucks?
Pick any Stainmaster Ultralife carpet and get one room or the whole house installed for just $99.
They make it so easy.
And our low price guarantee.
Dial 503 Carpets.
Your fireplace adds so much to your home, and Gordon's can add even more. Gordon's Fireplace Shop and Home Decor. Selection second to none. Glass screens, fire accessories, high-efficiency natural gas fireplaces, plus home furnishings that will add to the warmth of your home. Portland's finest selection of fireplace screens, gas logs, and gas fireplaces on sale today. Everything for your fireplace. Gordon's Fireplace Shop and Home Decor. Open 7 days a week.
Don't forget soap. Scrub, scrub, scrub.
Yes, Mom.
Hey, guys. Hey. Got steel wool?
Yeah.
Good.
Looking for creative ways to save energy? Northwest Natural can help with web tools and tips on how to conserve gas and lower your monthly bill. So you don't have to go to extremes. Learn more at nwnatural.com.
It's here, the ultimate website for parents looking for classes, camps, teams, and tutoring for kids. SignMyKidUp.com. Sports, music, dance, and academics. The only website of its kind. SignMyKidUp.com. Comprehensive, easy, and it's free. SignMyKidUp.com.
I have some questions I'd like to ask her about Emmett Till. Will she come out and talk to us?
What I just tell you?
Tell me again.
No.
She won't.
No. Goodbye.
I'm back?
I said goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes.
You leaving?
No, you are.
A journalist. This morning, we're remembering our colleague Ed Bradley, who died yesterday of complications of leukemia. If you watched any of Ed Bradley's interviews from his more than 25 years on 60 Minutes, you know he wasn't afraid to ask tough questions or go to tough places to get the answers. He was truly a trailblazer for all journalists, and particularly for journalists of color. He was the first black White House correspondent and perhaps the most honored and respected journalist of color anywhere. He was also the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Association of Black Journalists. Brian Monroe is the president of the NABJ and joins us from our Chicago station, WBBM TV, this morning. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Meg.
Why was Ed Bradley so successful?
Well, he was able to bring a high level of professionalism and quality to the stories he brought, but he also mixed in with that, you know, obviously fine, great, strong research and homework and hard work. But as some of you know, Ed was a great jazz fan. And I think he brought his love of jazz to his journalism. He brought it to his journalism because he was not afraid to improvise, not afraid to be spontaneous when he's on those tough interviews, or to go with the story, wherever the story led him. And that spirit really inspired me and thousands of journalists around the country.
What was it like when you honored him with the Lifetime Achievement Award? A lot of his colleagues remember him as being charismatic. A lot of people say he was pretty cool. He had that earring. What was it like for you?
Well, we actually sat and had dinner that evening and reminisced on the first time we had met almost 20 years ago in 1989, when I was this little kid coming out of college in journalism, and approached him at an NABJ convention in New York. And he was sitting there having a drink, and I came up to the bar. Nobody was talking to him. And he said, "Sit down, let's talk." And we spent 15, 20 minutes together and really just opening up himself and his life, and he was very curious. And that same person who was 20 years ago was just as real when we honored him last year at NABJ with the Lifetime Achievement Award. He was authentic. He brought all of himself to work each day, and did not have to compromise who he was as a black journalist, as a black man, as a sophisticated, classy, cultured journalist who grew up in Philadelphia.
Well, Brian, as you mentioned, he's being remembered for being a terrific journalist, but also as a trailblazer for African Americans. What did it say to African Americans when they saw him reporting from the front lawn of the White House in the 70s?
Well, it was just a sense of inspiration. I remember, you know, when I was a young journalist, and even in high school and college, turning on the television and seeing him come on Sunday nights on 60 Minutes, or when he was doing the White House, or when he'd fill in on the CBS Evening News, and looking up to him and saying, wow, I could do that. I could try to be like him. And for me and for thousands and thousands of other journalists, not just black journalists, but journalists around the country, looking at him and seeing him take his approach with class and style was so inspirational.
He was an exceptional interviewer. What do you think made him stand apart?
Well, part of it was his style and he was very approachable and very easygoing. Whether he's interviewing Lena Horne or Tiger Woods, he made the interviewee feel at ease. But at the same time, he was not afraid to bring the tough stuff on those tough, hard-hitting interviews and confront the folks who needed to be confronted. But even when he did that, he did it with a sense of class.
What will future African-American journalists, and all journalists for that matter, learn from Ed Bradley's legacy?
Well, I think, again, it's that you can be an authentic human being, that you can bring yourself, all of yourself, whether it's a love of jazz or a love of skiing or an involvement in the community. You can bring that to the table. You can bring that to work as a journalist. You don't have to compromise. You don't have to feel that you have to bury that part of yourself to tell the story of America and tell the story of the world. And that's what I'll remember with Ed Bradley.
All right. And who do you think is out there now that will be carrying his torch on?
Oh, my goodness. I think with the nearly 4,000 members of NABJ and the 10,000 members of the Unity journalist organizations around the country, all of us and journalists really around the world look at the legacy of Ed Bradley and know that, you know, if only we could have 1/10 of his style. I remember at that event in D.C. where we honored him with Lifetime Achievement Award, we had a very formal black tie, but afterwards we put some music on. The young folks went out on the dance floor and started dancing, and we thought Ed would be tired, want to go to bed, but he was out there on the dance floor with everyone else cutting a rug.
All right, Brian Monroe, president of the National Association of Black Journalists. Thank you so much this morning.
Thank you.
Among the many of us here at CBS who looked up to Ed Bradley is CBS News national correspondent Byron Pitts.
I knew Ed Bradley. We weren't really friends. He was more like a father. And in this world, for people who look like me, father figures are a very big deal. I remember the first time I saw Ed on TV, in the water with those women and children. That story hit me the same way it probably hit a lot of African-American children in the 1970s. Wow, there's someone on TV who looks like me. And today there are thousands of journalists working hard because Ed Bradley showed us you can do this. Tonight and tomorrow night and for days thereafter, I will thank the good Lord Ed Bradley lived and that we all had a chance to learn from him. I promise, Ed, we did.
Go ahead, I'll be right there. Wouldn't it be great if life worked like this parking meter? I could keep putting quarters in and stay here with my family forever. Of course, life doesn't work that way. That's why I bought life insurance from Colonial Penn to help make sure my final expenses won't become my family's problem. And it costs me about $1/4 a day.
For about $1/4 a day, just $7.95 a month per unit, Colonial Penn offers guaranteed acceptance life insurance to people ages 50 to 85. These days, funeral costs alone average over $6,000. Now you can get help with no medical exam, no health questions. And the rate of $7.95 a month per unit is guaranteed never to increase. Remember, if you're age 50 to 85, you cannot be turned down for any reason. After the first 2 years, your benefit will never decrease. As long as you pay your premiums, your coverage can never be canceled, and your policy builds cash value you can borrow against.
Call 1-800-443-5600 to receive free information in the mail. You'll get this handy guide to Social Security absolutely free. That number again is 1-800-443-5600 or visit our website at colonialpenn.com.
The way I see it, about $1/4 a day is an affordable way to make sure my loved ones have help to pay my final expenses.
These dangerous viruses could be on the surfaces your children touch, and they can make your family sick. And your regular cleaner may not kill viruses. So help protect your family with the unbeatable power of Lysol disinfectant spray. It kills 99.9% of both bacteria and viruses. Fact, Lysol is the #1 brand recommended by pediatricians. So why trust anything else? Lysol, disinfect to protect.
What is your biggest fear?
Federal prosecutors would not comment.
President Bush is now locked in a dispute.
Daily life is still a bitter struggle to survive.
Coming up, big puzzles carrying small packages in an explosive episode of CSI. Go behind the scenes of the riveting drama with William Peterson on The Early Show.
CBS News. See it now, anytime, anywhere.
It's 19 past the hour. Top stories and up to the minute. Democrats acknowledge there's a long list of challenges awaiting them when they take control of Congress in January, but insist they will deliver results. Today, President Bush meets with Nevada Senator Harry Reid, soon to become Majority Leader of the Senate. The first ever estimate of civilian deaths in Iraq is put at 150,000. Iraq's government says it based the number on the roughly estimated 100 bodies a day that were brought to morgues and hospitals. And he's being remembered as a journalist. Longtime